Every year, millions of people set financial goals. They promise to save more, invest better, spend less, but by March, most of these goals are gone. Not because people are lazy or don't really care, but because they are using the wrong framework. In this video, I want to explain why New Year financial goals usually fail and what actually works. Happy New Year! Thank you so much for supporting me on this channel, and if you haven't yet subscribed on this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe and like button so that this video will go viral. Now, let's start by having some context so that we are on the same page. The start of the year usually creates pressure. Even for myself, I used to have so much pressure. For example, each time that I look on my LinkedIn profile or my Facebook, I see a lot of posts of people saying, oh, my net worth increased to this amount and I managed to accomplish these goals. And it was not until I said, hold on for a second. Am I in competition with all these people? And the answer is no. Once I started to realize that, I went back to sitting down to myself and asking myself, what do I want to do with my finances this year? Without comparing myself with anyone else. And once I started making sense of that, my financial decisions became smarter and my financial situation has improved significantly. Now, after I did that, I had to ask myself, what are the reasons why most people fail so that I would avoid falling into the same trap. So in this case, let me just quickly share with you some of the major factors why most people fail in their financial plan. Number one, they have very vague financial plans. Most financial goals, they are very vague. They sound good on paper, but they have no timeline, they have no specific amount or even percentage to say, I want to save 5% of my income every month. So what that does is that it creates a framework and a room for you to go back and see, I promised myself that I want to save 5% of my paycheck every month. Did I do that? That is very, very important. I've noticed that my brain does not operate with a lot of vagueness. I want to have something written down and, if possible, even put it on the wall so that I can remind myself. That way I can have a structure and there's a feedback loop to say, am I going in the right direction or I'm not? So make sure if you are planning to improve your financial situation, quantify the goal and have a clear timeline. Reason number two is that a lot of people, they start with an outcome, not behavior. For example, most people, they focus on outcomes. Say, okay, I want to save 500,000 this year. Or let's say I want to save 30,000 and then I want to buy a house. So, well, that is very important. Outcomes can be delayed, but I think as human beings, sometimes we struggle with delayed rewards. So I think the behavior is what actually drives the progress. What do I mean by that? I like to have simple actions that I can repeat consistently. For example, checking my weekly spending. I can do this on the phone, on the app, at least for my bank account, I can do that. You see, I'm focusing on simple things. For example, focusing on my weekly spending, automating my savings, and reducing unnecessary decisions. And then outcomes motivate briefly, but my habits then can compound. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, make sure you give this video a like and a subscribe button so that this video can go viral. Reason number three why most people fail in their financial goals is that most of the goals, they ignore real life. Most financial plans assume perfect behavior, no unexpected expenses, no stress, no bad month, but real life doesn't work that way. A surprise bill shows up, motivation drops suddenly and people quit entirely. A good financial plan should survive all this. If your plan collapses after one setback, then it wasn't realistic to begin with. Reason number 4 is that a lot of people, they want to do too much change and too fast. For example, most people I work with, they probably have some debt of some sort. And I ask them, which strategy do you want to do? For example, let's say if someone has a debt for 10,000, the first thing that I would ask myself is, which one is the highest interest rate debt? And then you can either choose to attack it, the one with the highest interest, or maybe someone has a credit card debt and maybe there's another smaller amount that one person might think like, I want to pay this first, and then that creates motivation and can possibly accelerate the paying off of debt. So you see, I'm talking about having a slow and a methodical process rather than just having to say, oh, I want to pay this 10,000 all at once. And you know, maybe you are making 2,000 or 3,000. It's not practical, right? So that is very, very important. So most people don't fail because they lack willpower. It's sometimes people want to do things too quickly and too fast. And I want to make sure that I reduce friction before I increase my ambition. Now, let's move on to the shift of what actually works and how I have actually been able to hit my financial goals. Systems, having processes, and making fewer decisions has tended to increase my ability to meet my financial goals. What do I mean by that? Financial clarity beats financial intensity. When money is structured properly, progress becomes boring, and boring is good. What do I mean by this? Let me talk about a 3-part framework that works. Number 1, clarity is very important. Know exactly where your money goes. So each time my money comes in, I usually pull out every month and pull that into ChatGPT and kind of like just have an analysis of where my money is going. And my bank that I use, they have an app that tells me that this month you exceeded your usual expenses on entertainment. Now, once I do that, I have that in place. I like to automate my decisions. Every month, I like to have, let's say, 5% of my monthly income that is automatically removed from my checking account into my savings account. And I will talk about my expenses later after I have saved money automatically. And then another important thing is that having flexibility is important. Plans that adjust without collapsing are very, very important. It's very important to have a built-in margin. What do I mean by that? There's always the importance of having a room for real life. Consistent beats intensity every single time. This is why I no longer set aggressive financial goals every January. I focus on structure, clear systems, repeatable decisions, and this has lowered my stress level. That shift changed how I think about money and how I invest, because the most important thing is the behavior. If you notice, for example, it's very tempting to just save money and blow it all at once if you are just swiping, right? So you see there is the behavioral aspect. So for me, I like to have a disciplined framework. I want to have clarity of what I want to achieve, and then I want to have a system, like I was talking about automation. And then if things change, for example, maybe I run into something that I was not expecting, I want to have the flexibility of saying, you know what, it's okay, right? Because you can have the plans, but things can show up. I hope this video has helped you to have clarity of your financial goals, and I hope you will be able to achieve your goals. If you want to learn more about how to plan and invest in the stock market, particularly in the US and Canadian stock markets, make sure you check out my website on www.streetwiseeconomics. I have several coaching programs that I have, and I will be taking in clients on my limited spots. And thank you so much for tuning in. If your financial goals haven't worked before, you are not broken. The framework was broken. So this year on Streetwise, I'll be sharing more money strategies of how I will be investing and trading. So make sure you follow me, you subscribe, and you tune in for more. Bye bye for now, and I will see you on the next video.